Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun this morning. Coffee instead of beer. Little change of pace.
Water instead of water.
Very, very different feeling. We'll see if it makes the show better, being caffeinated as opposed to alcohol. Raiders versus Chiefs, Christmas morn. Chiefs 10-point favorites, understandably so. They've owned this team for a while. The last two times we've played them, we've come out to a 2-touchdown or over lead and somehow managed to blow it. Let's see if we can keep that from happening. Over under 41.5 points. Nickelodeon game on Christmas morning. Big one. Fun one. I would say, Soto, if there's any game this season that's our Super Bowl, this is it. Christmas morning, coming off a curb stomping of the Chargers. Our chance of getting the playoffs are 1%. If we win, it ups to 6%. Still alive, but obviously not really realistic. This feels like the biggest game of the year to me, Soto.
This is something that is gonna, like remember those choose your own adventure books, right?
Yeah.
Where like you start like the first 5 pages are like, okay, it's like everything's the same. Then you have a decision to make. If you want Jimmy to go upstairs, you go to page 10. If you want Jimmy to go out to the barn, you go to page 15, right? This game can set our franchise in a direction that will either be really good or really bad for a lot of years to come. And we don't know. Who knows what happens with AP if he gets an entire season, if he's going to do well, if he's going to not do well, who knows? But if he gets the chance to show it, can come down to this game here. And it's really interesting to see what's going to happen. There's a lot of things, not just the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs and they beat us regularly, but we're not good at 10 a.m. games. We're really not good like playing in like super cold weather. It's a lot of stuff to factor in.
There's things going against us. There's things going for us. We are the most rested team in the NFL. We had like the mini bye, right? Thursday night game, and then now it's a Monday game, so it's the extra day. We went bye 2 games in 4 days, where we went 1-1, and then 11 days off. So great. And this is also end of the season, right? We looked at that late bye that we had, and you're like, oh, that's going to be rough getting there. But once you're there, like everyone's beat up. Most people, especially teams that had their bye week in week like 5, 6, or 7, right? They're so beat up in this 18-week league. We're the most rested team in the NFL, which is big. Yeah. This is also the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever faced when playing the Raiders. And there's not even a close second.
No, yeah, this is definitely the most, the best defense and also probably the most confident defense, even though we've had good players in the past. We have a lot of players playing, I wouldn't say over their head. I think they're just playing up to their potential. And we got lucky with a couple of players that are playing really well. I mean, Matthew Butler, geez, man, he's doing really well, pass rushing up the middle. Malcolm Kuntz is coming into his own. And then Jack Jones, he's showing that he's maybe just needing a little bit of a change of scenery, and that was kind of like the Raider way of the past.
He's got the play of the year so far, and he's played 2 games.
What did we talk about in the past? Pick up guys that were washouts and maybe for whatever reason didn't work in other places. Like you got a Jim Plunkett, you got a Matuzak, you got a Alzado,
Rich Gannon.
You got those types of guys, old school Raider style, that we're like, all right, we'll bring those misfits in here, and we'll get them to play well. And part of that is the culture that we have of knowing, we're the bad guys, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. We're not the buttoned up, corporate CEO style suit with no tie, open, like that's not who we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we got away from being able to get those washouts at other spots, because they didn't see us as being those old Raiders. So definitely something that we can look forward to, but also look back on as the older Raider teams in the past, because we're playing, that tight man coverage, and beat us.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much we can take from the Charger victory. That was, but I'll take it. But I don't know how much we can take.
The momentum's real. The momentum's real, right?
Yeah.
X's and O's, like, are we going to get 5 turnovers again? Right? Are the Chiefs going to just cough up the ball every time you tackle them? But the momentum is real. The feeling is tangible, right? It's like when your kid asks, like, is Santa Claus real? It's like, what's the aura of Santa Claus is real.
Yeah, what's real? Like,
feel about it, how it makes you, the joy you get, the fact that I can leverage Santa Claus isn't going to bring you gifts to my 4-year-old unless you're good. That's real. As a parent, let me tell you, Santa Claus is very, very real. And that's the same thing with this momentum, is it's very, very real. And it's like, all right, well, what are we playing for? And every single, and unfortunately, like most Raiders season in the last 20 years, it's like, all right, let's start tanking now that we haven't made we're mathematically limited from the playoffs and it's Thanksgiving, right? No. And I always look back all season. I've been talking about, look at the Lions last season. They had nothing to play for in the last half of the year, but they went on a great run, and that momentum took them to 10-4 now. Like, that is a tangible run. And this is the Raiders, because with how well this defense is playing, Patrick Graham's got them playing well. Guys are performing. Guys are maximizing their skill set. The game plan for all the offensive coordinators is still just worry about Maxx Crosby. So now other guys are taking advantage. It's all starting to come. So now Maxx is having a defensive player of the year type season because he's not doing it by himself. That's shit that maintains momentum. That's something that can keep going. And then we're just an offensive coordinator and a quarterback away from really being a playoff team. We are a top 10 defense. We're 9th in points allowed.
Yeah.
Now, I can't believe it. So these games, Chiefs on Christmas, the only game on in Arrowhead. This is a game that's going to mean a lot moving for the rest of the season, moving forward. AP wants that W, right? Like Vic Tafer said, in his opinion, if he wins on Monday, he's got the job. I hope that's not the case because I still want to make the process go. And if we get AP, great, but I just want the process. But it's going to be it's going to be really, really tough to say, no, AP, you beat the Chiefs on the road and got juice out of this team. You can't be the head coach. So this is our Super Bowl this season, boys. This is our Super Bowl.
Yeah, like I was saying, a lot of stuff can come out from this win. We're going to find out if the momentum has some foundation to it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, you talk about the Lions. The Lions also had, a lot of good players, right? Yep. They were just young and coming together. We're going to find out if that momentum is tangible, if that momentum is something that translates onto the field, because there's no more excuses, man. There's no more excuses. AP isn't like trying to find his footing or whatever. He's been in the role for a while. Yep. Aiden O'Connell has made a handful of starts already. This is where we see normally rookie quarterbacks that start the beginning of the year around the week 5, 6-ish, around there is when they start to, okay, we're seeing something now. No more of these, bonehead mistakes. He has, but we'll get into it later, what he has to do. But we're going to see, do we spend our first round pick on a quarterback, or do we have the quarterback that we think we can move forward with? I think it's a higher probability that we keep or we stick with Aiden O'Connell if AP stays. But he has to show something against a team that actually has life. The last time we saw Aiden O'Connell against a defense that actually wanted to win, he put up 0 points. Mm-hmm. So we got to make sure that we keep our expectations in check. This is a big telling game for us coming up.
Sidebar, just on Farva in general. We've talked about this. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to gauge O'Connell this season because his 2 offensive coordinators have been Josh McDaniels, who just destroys every quarterback he coaches, and Bo, who just got thrust into the role and is clearly in over his head, right? So it's really tough to be like, well, we know who Farva is, right? It's like, so that's why I'm still like, no, quarterback is still number 1 priority going into the draft. And if Farva crushes it next season, we have a quarterback battle. That's a good problem to have. That's a great problem to have. And again, like what we always talk about, like, you have all these great quarterbacks in this draft. Half of them are going to be busts. That's right. These first round quarterbacks, 50% of them are going to be busts, right? So if we've best case scenario, right, we draft the quarterback of the future. He's great. Farva plays great. Awesome. But as of like, I don't think there's anything Favre can do in the next 3 games where I'm like, oh, quarterback is set for next season. We're set. I don't think there's anything that can, no situation where that happens, in my opinion. But
Okay.
he shows off, great.
Well, what if Favre, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, what if Favre has a good Favre game these next 3 games against teams that want to win? These are teams that are playing for something now. This is not the Chargers who weren't playing for anything, who wanted to get the coach out of there, who didn't have their quarterback, their best receiver, and probably their best defender. Okay, this is a team that is at full strength, at home, hostile environment, who wants to win, who needs to win to get that home field advantage.
This is a really good Chiefs defense.
How does Favre respond? If he has that 250, 275, 3 touchdowns, limited turnovers, that's something you can build off of. Because personally, I wouldn't draft a first round high top 10-ish pick on a quarterback if I don't have vision that he's going to be my starter. Maybe not right away, but it's not going to be a competition of who the quarterback is going to be. It would be who's a competition. It's a competition of, is he ready yet? Yeah. And if Favre shows us these next 3 games that he can be the guy, then you have to roll with who you already have because you've already seen it.
Well, like I said, I don't think there's any way we know exactly who Favre is this season, good or bad, based on just the mess that's been going on, right? Like, I don't know.
With that mess, if he plays well against 3 teams who really want to win, who have decent defenses, I mean, I don't see how you can just dismiss that.
Do you pass? You don't dismiss it, but do you pass by on a franchise-altering quarterback because of 3 good games?
I mean, what would you do the following season? Would you want to give Favre the shot to do it?
Well, no. You draft a top 10 quarterback with the intention of having him be the starter in the future.
I think that if Favre does well, and he shows that even despite all the turmoil, right, that he can be a quarterback because he plays well despite all the turmoil, right, and turnover too, I guess you could say. These next 3 games against 3 teams that have playoff implications and they want to win, right? 2 on the road. If he does that, he shows you that he can be in a more sterile, sound environment. He can only get better. Now, maybe you don't use a first-round pick on a quarterback. Maybe you still get another young quarterback and give him some competition moving forward because Garoppolo's not competition and Hoyer's not competition. So you give him some young competition to push him moving forward. And maybe you get lucky with the second-round quarterback or whatever, right? But you already see the guy that you've seen the traits, even with all the turmoil. What's the difference between moving up to get one of the top quarterbacks this year or moving up to get one of the top quarterbacks after Aiden O'Connell shows you maybe next year that he's not the guy?
The quarterback position is too important to be like, all right, Favre's played some bad games, but he looked good in 3 games down the stretch. Like it's too important. You get it's so important. It's worth going high draft capital this upcoming draft to get one of the top 4 or 5 guys. We did a video on the top quarterbacks on our channel. If you want to go check it out, we just did. It's like 8 minutes long. It's so important that it's worth the draft capital. It really is, especially considering how well our defense is playing with who we've got and how many weapons we have on offense. Of course we need players. We desperately need a corner. Our old line needs to get better. We don't know what's going to happen with Davante Adams' future, Josh Jacobs' future. Of course, we want more players. But we're playing pretty well positionally outside of a quarterback, right? If we have a really, really good quarterback, damn, man, we're with a top 10 defense and then a great quarterback in our weapons, we're in a good position. So, look, it's kind of like with Antonio Pierce, right? There's nothing Antonio Pierce can do moving forward where I'm going to say he's the guy no matter what. You still, in the offseason, go over all your options.
Of course, you always want to upgrade.
Interview everybody, right?
Is you upgrade the backup position or you upgrade the quarterback room in general. You don't have to necessarily, because what if you want to get more capital and you trade back? Yeah. You trade back in round 1 and get more capital, and with that you get a second-round quarterback. I mean, look, I'm not convinced that quarterbacks like Penix and like McCarthy, I'm not convinced they're going to be first-round quarterbacks. I think there's a lot of hype going on.
That's part of the equation, right? That's
Yeah,
part of the
I'm
equation.
not convinced they're going to be first-round quarterbacks.
And we also don't know who our GM's going to be, what they're thinking. This is a great conversation from when the season's over and we get our GM. We will revisit this conversation multiple times. We'll see how Favre plays the next 3 games. We'll figure out who our GM is. We'll see kind of how, again, we did an 8-minute video on kind of where these quarterbacks are and how we feel. That's going to drastically change by April with Combine, Pro Bowl, Senior Bowl, Senior Bowl, all this kind of stuff. So we'll definitely come back to this conversation.
Mick Budd, one of our first subscriber, I think. Once we open it, he can subscribe right away. The franchise is looking to make the playoffs next year. Can't have another wait and see season from Favre. Well, the wait and see is these next 3 games. And in my scenario, he shows you that he can be the guy. Who do you want to go with? A guy that showed you that he can do it, or a quarterback that has promise and may or may not be?
Both.
Yeah, I mean,
both.
yeah. You want, but
it's both small sample sizes.
Well, you do both because you want to strengthen the quarterback room. But do you spend a high first-round pick on a quarterback when the guy you already have shows you that he can do it? I don't know. Most teams wouldn't. The last example I saw of this was the Bills when Tyrod Taylor took them to the playoffs when they hadn't been to the playoffs. They had like the longest drought in the NFL of making the playoffs. And Tyrod Taylor was their quarterback. I don't know that Tyrod Taylor has ever impressed. If you look at his stats that year, they weren't very good, but the team had a really good defense. And the Bills felt like they needed to upgrade that position, and they moved up not once, but they moved up twice from like 24 to 13 and then 13 to 7 to get Josh Allen. That's the last time I remember a team that saw something that they didn't have in the past in a quarterback and still moved on.
Again, this will be probably the biggest conversation this offseason. Once the GM and head, number one conversation is going to be who's going to be the head coach. Number 2 will be who's the GM, and the next is what we do under center. Back to the game. Both teams 2-3 in the last 5, both coming off wins. If the Chiefs win, they'll clinch the AFC West for an 8th straight time. We'll start with Mahomes. By Patrick Mahomes standards, this has been the worst season of his career. And you can say, is it because the receivers are dropping balls? It's certainly a part of it. Is he just not playing the same? His rating is 93.2. That's the second lowest of his career, only behind his rookie year. 264 yards per game, lowest of his career. 10.5 yards per catch, lowest of his career. Passing success rate under 50%, lowest in his career. Interception percentage 1.5, second highest of his career, only behind his rookie year. 13 interceptions, most of his career. Touchdown percentage 4.8, lowest of his career. With the way this defense is playing and the way Patrick Mahomes is playing, this is poised to be the first game ever where the Raiders can really put the clamps on Patrick Mahomes. Get him under 200 yards, couple picks, couple sacks. Now, this is the second least sacked team in football. They've only given up 21 sacks. Patrick Mahomes can still move around, and he still eludes the best of them.
He still has a really good offensive line.
But with the way Maxx is playing, the way Kuntz is playing, the way the defense is playing in general, we're not jinxing it, but this is the chance. This is finally, we have him in check. Now we can hopefully get him in checkmate to finally put the clamps on Patrick Mahomes and embarrass him in a Raider game.
I think the Chiefs are missing Tyreek Hill a lot more than they want to admit. Mm-hmm. With Tyreek Hill, you had to play that deep safety. You had to play 2 deep safeties because you also have other weapons. And you left what I think is the most dangerous part of Patrick Mahomes' passing is the middle of the field. That's not even just the deep stuff. The deep stuff is like the window dressing. It's like that's like the icing on the cake. His main thing is over the middle. That's where teams are defending him now. A tape that I've been watching is teams have stopped playing that like shell over the top and like, okay, well, let's just keep everything up in front of us. And they stopped playing zone behind blitzes because Patrick Mahomes is good against the blitz. He knows where to go. And if you're playing a zone, he'll just pick out and find the receiver, right? teams are blitzing a lot with tight man coverage. They're playing a lot of like one man high with tight zone, or they're playing cover zero with no deep help, and they're clamping everything down deep. The reason why his depth of target is not as good is because he's not throwing the ball deep anymore, because he really doesn't trust his deep targets. It's McKinnon, it's the tight end that will remain nameless, it's Rice, and it's all crossing patterns, it's all stop routes, it's all option routes, check downs. That's where those are like the million cuts that get you with this offense right now, because they don't have that reliable deep threat. Now, can they still push the ball deep and throw the ball deep? Yeah, because it's Mahomes and he can do that. And every once in a while, one of those deep threats is going to catch the ball. But we need to commit. If we're going to bring extra pressure against Patrick Mahomes, we can't play zone behind it. We can't play that zone with a lot of teams used to do. They still were doing it last year. This year, they kind of figured it out. Just get it to the guys as tight as you can, because they drop a lot of balls. And I do think that the tight man coverage is a reason why a lot of the balls are being dropped. A lot more contested catches down the field. And Mahomes is, even though he's who he is, it's still harder to be accurate on the move, right? So close the windows down, really clamp down, kind of almost, this may sound blasphemous, but almost play Mahomes like teams were playing Garoppolo in the beginning of the year. Take everything away over the middle, make him, and it sounds weird, but make him beat you outside the numbers. Make him beat you outside the numbers and make him beat you deep. Because from what I watched the last game that we had against them over again, and honestly, all the crossing routes, all the stuff over the middle was what was killing us.
Well, that's what Andy Reid does so well, and he understands this defense. Like, again, top 10 defense. Can't believe how good our defense is. But still, athletically in the backfield, it's still not great. So, like, what kills us with Patrick Mahomes is everything you're saying, but also I think the next level is when plays start to break down and he starts moving, guys just can't hang with dudes that long. Because Patrick Graham is such a good defensive coordinator and he's keeping guys in the right position. That's good for the first 4 seconds of a play, right? Like, you like as a defensive coordinator, you're like, all right, where are we going? 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 4 seconds in the pocket. Let's make sure everyone's in the right position. And that's where Patrick Graham's been great. But when Mahomes starts moving, when Maxx gets in his face and he rolls out of the pocket and we get to seconds 5, 6, 7, 8, that's where things start to break down. Where there's over routes where you're covering for 4 seconds, but now what? Like, we're still going. And that's what the tight end that will remain nameless does so well. Finding, adjusting to his quarterback on the move, finding holes in the zone. That's what we have to stop, is when Mahomes extends the play and we're past that murky 4-second number, where now it's no longer this scheme is keeping these guys under wraps. It's our athletes have to continue with their athletes and adjust on the fly. That's where the Chiefs offense is going to kill us, or we're going to recover.
Yeah, it's going to be that. Well, that's why the defense has to play complementary defense. We got a lot of pressure on what's his face last week, and it wasn't all Maxx. A lot was up the middle, and a lot of it was Malcolm Kuntz. So I really like the adjustment of playing Tyree Wilson at the tackle spot. I think that his length and his height and his just ability to push defenders back is going to be a big asset to the defensive line. We just need to make sure that he can shed those blocks to be a little bit better against the run. But I think he could be it's weird to say, but I think that Tyree Wilson up the middle can be a huge X factor in changing some of those throwing lanes, especially those over the middle throwing lanes, if he can get those long arms up there.
The thing that Andy Reid again does is the two things, right? Getting guys on the move and making our defense have to be athletes and stay with guys for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. The other part is we're such a good pressure team. Like, our sack totals are kind of low as a team, but our pressure rate's really high. It's so weird. That's almost a bad thing against Patrick Mahomes. He's going to feel the pressure. He's going to roll out and extend the play another 3 seconds. And that's also kind of where we fall apart, right? So, like, those are the two biggest things we got to deal with, right? And Patrick Graham, obviously an incredibly intelligent guy, and he saw what happened last time we played the Chiefs and how they were able to beat us. So it's like defensively, those are the two biggest things. Making sure to be able to stay with our guys for a long time. And those pressures need to be really good pressures. Like it can't just be Mahomes feeling it, rolling out. It needs to be like, I got him. I got a hand on him.
Yeah, it can't be I make him uncomfortable. It's like he has to be running for his life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the there's an advantage to having a lot of pressures, right? But there's a hard line between pressures and sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to finish, and that's why the guys that end up completing, though maybe some of the higher sack guys don't have as many pressures, because when they do beat the guy, they finish the deal. We have to finish the deal. It's about finishing right now. We play good plays. We start off well. So in the macro, it's like finishing a game, right? Starting off 14-0 and then not scoring the rest of the game. Yeah. That's not acceptable, right? Play by play. I beat my guy, and oh man, I just barely get ahead. No, finish that play. We have to finish plays. We have to make sure that we're in the right spots, know what we're supposed to do, be where we're supposed to be, and finish the play. Finishing the play like Jack Jones, that interception that he had. I don't care who is against. That's an amazing play. You finish the play. John Jenkins, just not comfortable with just falling on the ball. No, I'm going to pick this ball, but I'm going to run it all the way in. Finishing the play. All those punch outs that we had with the ball. Turner on the punt. He punched the ball out from the punt returner. Finish the play. You see the play in front of you, finish the play. That's the issue that we're seeing right now, is we are not playing through the whistle, and that's not always like that's normally talked about as like a blocking thing. Block through the whistle, right? Tackle through the whistle. Well, you need to cover through the whistle, and that's what our secondary needs to do.
Napoleon Kaufman, thank you for the super chat. Sup, nation? Sup, Napoleon? You guys think we're going to force feed Jacobs and Adams? So it was an interesting AP's presser. It was Monday or Tuesday. He kind of sneaked something in that we've been thinking about and talking about, and was kind of out there, but it's interesting to hear him say it. He was talking about like running backs and like, how Zeus played. Zeus only had 17 carries against the Chargers, right? He's like, yeah, normally we want our lead back to have 20 touches or more. I was like, okay. It was kind of cool. It was kind of interesting to hear him vocalize it in those terms. One, there's like a lead back, right? On a running back by committee. Mm-hmm. And two, they want at least 20 carries out of their lead back. That's what this offense is built to do. It's like, okay, yeah, like is that force feeding? I think it's just game planning. I think it's just like, all right, we're going to have, Jacobs have like 22 carries, and maybe everyone else is going to have a combined 6 or 7, right? There's always like, the quarterback's going to scramble. We had a wildcat last game. There's going to be, a receiver is going to pick one up at some point, right? So it's about 30 running plays a game, 22 to 24 of them, your lead back. That's just the game plan, right? I don't know if that's a force feed. That's just the game plan for this Raiders offense with a rookie 4th round quarterback.
The advantage of feeding your running back is kind of what we looked at against the Chiefs the last game, and also like let's say against the Jets. A running back like, Josh Jacobs, he's a diesel engine, man. He gets better the more you run him, and the more you run him late in the game, the more you can control the narrative of the flow of the game if you have a consistent running game. And getting Josh Jacobs involved, figuring out what works, how the defensive line is playing you, how you're doing against that line, and kind of figuring out what plays and out of what formations are going to work the best. I think that's why I feel like having a lead back is the best thing. Normally, when you have a team that has like a bunch of backs that just carry a couple here and there, it's because they run the ball just to kind of like keep the defense honest. We don't do that. We run the ball as a weapon. We run the ball as a necessity. We need to do that to win games. So I don't see that. I don't see it force feeding. I think that's just like you said, the game plan, right? How this, protecting a young quarterback, getting an advantage against the defense by having a good running game. I don't know that you can ever really force feed Davante Adams. I think you just throw him the ball when he's open and he's the first read, which more often than not he's going to be. So I don't know that it would necessarily be force feeding in either case.
I don't think Josh Jacobs, it is force feeding. I think there's a case that we are kind of force feeding Davante a little bit. When you look at the most targeted receivers in football, he's the 5th most targeted. He's at 140 targets. That's averaging 10 per game. Keenan Allen's just got a crazy amount, right? He's still number 1 and he's been hurt. He missed a game.
He missed like 2 games, yeah.
And he's still number 1 in targets. Michael Pittman Jr. 2nd, AJ Brown 3rd, CeeDee Lamb 4th, and then Davante's right up. He's only got one less target than CeeDee and AJ and 3 less than Michael Pittman Jr. He's right, like the difference between number 2 and number 6 is like just is like a tiny little bit of target. So we have been either, I mean, it's a blurry line between just like throwing it to your best guy and force feeding. We're somewhere between the two. But I don't think that's terrible. Like as long as defensive coordinators are like, all right, we're just going to keep focusing on Davante Adams, other guys are going to get open. Like Jacoby Myers had one of the best seasons of his career with Jimmy G and a 4th-round rookie as his quarterback. Why? Because everyone's looking at either stacking the box against Josh Jacobs or looking at Davante Adams. So again, this offense hasn't been working. So maybe that's where the problem is maybe we use Davante more as a decoy more than a target because he's always bracketed. Maybe that'll help things. I don't know. It's hard to say throwing the ball to your best wide receiver is a bad idea, but he's having one of the worst games of his, or one of the worst seasons of his career since like year 3 or 4 when he really started taking off. And he's one of the most targeted wide receivers in football. So that's something to be thought about, Juan. Are we throwing the ball to it's weird, right? Throwing the ball. How can you throw the ball to Davante Adams too much? But we're throwing it a ton, and he's just not having a great year.
Before I lose this on the chat. Where's the invite, Turco? What's up?
Asada to barbecue for my employees. Right? What are we? Chopped liver?
What's going on here?
Chopped asada. In Mexico, they almost never have carne asada. Like outside of like Tijuana, right, where it's basically just like San Diego adjacent. Mexico City, it's all pollo and carnitas. Very, very little carne asada. Blew me away.
And they don't call it really carne asada because carne asada is like how you prepare it. Mm-hmm. It's like grilled meat, right?
Yeah, it's just steak with like the chops and the seasoning.
It's called ranchera. Ranchera is the real carne asada. It's like the cut.
It's delicious no matter what.
It is. Dude, you know what freaking pisses me off? Whenever these damn hipsters jump on something, the price shoots through the roof. Oh, flank steak is a great steak because I'm like, oh, great. It's going to be freaking $10 a pound now. I used to get that for like $3.99 a pound at the bodega over there on Anaheim, and now it's like $9.99. I'm like, what's going on here?
You know how amazing Pabst Blue Ribbon is as a beer? Is that when it randomly, for some reason, for a while became a hipster beer, they still didn't change the price. They're like, oh, it's randomly cool with people that wear black T-shirts and their beanies real high up on their head. And they're like, nope, we're not changing the price. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm chilling. It's 110 degrees outside, and I'm wearing a beanie.
And I'm wearing a PBR with a $300 T-shirt. It's like, and PBR is like, nope, we're still going to be just cheap beer in a can because we're American. We're American.
So, PBR, I can drink it, but it has to be like super cold.
Oh, it's not quality beer.
No,
it's the beer. It's the beer you drink while you're mowing your lawn.
Yeah,
just like an ice cold American beer. That's you actually taste George Washington going down your throat when you drink.
Give me your five. Give me your 5 tacos.
Just
Phil,
the meats.
The meats.
Bill? Carne asada, pollo, carnitas, pastor. Honestly, I like I like a good old fashioned just ground beef, like Americanized taco.
Damn. All right. There's my top number 1 is birria. It's goat, braised goat. That's my if I had to choose and I had all my choices, I would go that.
Okay.
There's that.
There's an aristocrat, Soto.
Yeah, all right. There's al pastor.
He's like, I like caviar tacos, seared ahi.
Goat is not freaking fancy, bro.
I want a breakfast taco, but it's made out of condor egg omelets.
Well,
want it to be an endangered species.
Well, goat is big, especially in the part of Mexico where my family is from. It's a farming area, and you don't want to kill the cows because that's where you get all your milk from. You get milk from goat too, but like the main thing is like you don't want to kill your cows, and they're a lot. You can't have as many of them. You can have a ton of goats. That was a big thing.
Goats are just good.
Don't
Goats
name
are
the
good
goats.
maintenance animals.
Don't name those ones. Don't name them. They're gonna be eating them soon. So there's that. There's birria. There's pastor. I like buche, which I don't know. Go ahead and look it up what it is. Which is I think stomach lining. I think delicious. And asada is on there and chorizo. Boom.
Do you eat the like the beef tongue, beef brain? Because I always see those at taquerias. I never seen anyone order it, but I know it is.
Sesos, lengua. Yeah, it's good, man.
It's not even off menu. It's just right. It's right up there with everything.
You should get a taco next time you go. You should just try it. It's good. I mean, my ex-wife, she was white as hell, and we would go to the taco spots, and I would just order a bunch of tacos. Like, I don't go and I get, let me get 3 asada and 3 pollo. Like, no, I'm like, give me all the random stuff, and then I would give it. We would eat, and she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's beef." It's like cow brain. She doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Or like face meat, cabeza.
So Jack Jones was, I think it was Levi Damien who posted this. And I think they were talking about the tie that will remain nameless. I believe that was who they asked about, but this was his answer.
We're not worried about him. It's Patrick Mahomes we got to stop. The magician. You stop the magician, then the act is over.
Which is interesting coming from a corner, right? It's not like he's rushing the quarterback. But I don't know if that's so different than most quarterbacks. Where it's like, yeah, if you get to the quarterback, then you kind of nip everything in the bud. But it's like we talked about earlier. It's not just kind of like rattling him because that's where he makes magic. It's tangibly getting him. It's not him feeling pressure. It's like you put it best. Like if he's going to run, he's going to be running for his life, not just feeling pressure and rolling. It's like it has to be a dead sprint. And he's holding the ball like a baton, not shuffling around, having thing locked and loaded.
We have to run. He's one of the rare quarterbacks that you can't run from his blind side. You can't rush him from his blind side. He's too good on the move. He's just as good moving to his right as he is standing still. We have to move him the other side. We have to come from his face and force him to go this way. One thing that you normally see
come on his face. Notice, I agree.
Yeah. Well, we do what Patrick Mahomes does a lot. He'll give you the okey doke if you're coming in from his sight side. So from his right, he'll give you the okey doke and he'll spin even if he loses 10 yards. As long as he's running to his right when he throws the ball, that's what he wants, and that's where he's successful. Like I said, he's just as good, rolling to his right as he is standing still. But the key is to get that pressure in his face.
Well, and I think the key is getting the pressure opposite Max, right? Because they've just been scheming like Max's side. Like, all right, we're going to roll away from that one, right? That's just how we're going to go. But if we can get pressure on the other side, which you haven't been able to do up until recently, I think Kuntz is probably the biggest X factor for me defensively on this one. Is if Max is going to do his thing. They're either going to like triple team him or he's going to get his pressures and his sacks from his side. If Kuntz can complement that and pinch Mahomes inside, we'll have ourselves a good game.
For sure, that's going to be a huge one. We need to have a superior effort by the entire defensive line. We can't just have one or two guys because Mahomes is just that good. Well, he's just that good to be able to make things happen. Even if one or two of his linemen just totally whiff, he can still make stuff happen. So we need to have a big effort by the entire defensive line. And really quick, Jesse, my mistake if I said cabeza. Cabeza is head meat. That's why I talked about head meat, but it's sesos his brain, and it's good.
I know what cabeza means.
Give it enough.
Giving, receiving, eating. Injury report. We'll start with the Chiefs. They're pretty healthy, unfortunately. A couple linebackers didn't participate in practice. We don't have the Friday report yet because it's 9:41 a.m. on the West Coast. McKinnon didn't participate. Tony didn't participate. It's going to be Pacheco at running back starting anyway, so the McKinnon thing's not that big of a deal. They're pretty healthy. Raiders, a lot more question marks. Maxx, I'm not worried about. I think he's just taking some time with that knee. He'll play. Josh Jacobs, AP said he's very confident that he's going to play. And after 11 days rest, when he was like a maybe to play on the last Thursday game, pretty confident he's going to play. Colton Miller, back playing. Good news. Michael Mayer is the weird one for me. He didn't participate. That's a new injury, that toe injury. So that's something to keep an eye on in the next 2 days.
Well, the thing that we're looking at is, I think that Mayer injury is just a nagging one, and it's like, look, he's locked into what he needs to do. Let's just give him some time off, so he's ready. I think that the way to attack this defense is it's kind of strange. The way to attack the Chiefs defensively is to crowd the middle, and that's where the Chiefs defensively are the weakest. They don't have quite the safety play they used to have. They don't have the linebacker. What's his name? Bolton is on IR, so that's where we can really attack this defense is over the middle. And I think Michael Mayer. It can't all be crossing patterns. Michael Mayer's got to really work in those seams. I think if he has a big game, it's a big chance for us to get some chunk plays up the middle.
So this defense is good. Chiefs defense is one of the best defenses they've had in a very long time. 4th in total defense. They're giving up under 300 yards a game. 5th in passing defense, 182 yards per game. 3rd in points allowed.
Oh, crap.
Points per game.
Bolton is off IR. Well, there goes that.
There we go. Their one weakness, and still above average, they're giving up 110 yards per game rushing. That's 13th. So it's still better than average. But that's the 20, 25 carries for Josh Jacobs that we're talking about. If we can beat up this defense, right? Colt Miller's back playing again, smash mouth football, Mayer hopefully blocking. That's the key. That's the key is breaking this defense, punching him in the mouth.
We got to tire him out, man. And part of that is like you said, continuing to run the ball, even if it's not working as well as we had liked. That's why players like Michael Mayer are going to be big in third down conversions. We have to be able to wear this defense down to make them have to substitute more in the later part of the game. If we have their starting lineup and defensively on the defensive line in there almost every single play, because we do 3 and outs or we don't sustain drives or we turn the ball over, especially in the second half, we got no shot, man. We have to be able to punish this defensive line and impose our will and put some weight on them, because if we don't, it's just not going to happen, especially in the second half. They're going to pin their ears back and they're going to go come after us with their line, because they're like top 5 in sacks or something like that. Like they're a huge sack team. So we need to be able to punish that front early in the game and throughout the game.
And that's going to take discipline, because the Raiders' rushing offense is last, 83.7 yards per game. That's 32nd out of 32 teams. So it's a commitment, right? I understand why at times Bo gets a little antsy and starts having Farva throw the ball 40 times a game, because sometimes the run game just isn't working. And it's that defense it's our defense keeping our run game in it. So we're not down 17-0 at some point and we start getting Farva happy, right? It's the defense keeping this game close to give our offense a chance to it's a slow burn offense, right? It's got like you said, it's not a good rushing offense, but it's a slow burn rushing offense that can break guys down over time. Shima 86, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm with the Meek. I know we can beat the Queefs because we have more dogs. We need to play smart. Also mentioned earlier this season about PG up in the box. It's like it's working with Bo. We're not against Amik. He's boom or bust at times, and undersized, but he's made some big plays for us. PG up in the box. What do you mean by PG up in the box, Shima? Do you know what he's talking
Patrick
about?
Graham.
I know Patrick Graham. But what do you mean up in the box? Like our box defense is better, or
No. Up in the coach's box.
Playing from up there.
Yeah, calling the games. Now both coordinators are up there.
Yeah, they were both on the field for a while. Now they're both up.
When they first started, they were both on the field.
They're in the nerdery with their calculators.
Yeah.
That's where PG should be. He's not a rah guy. He's a genius. He's an Ivy League guy.
I really like Patrick Graham, dude. I hate to keep telling you guys this, but I was like defending Patrick Graham, and I was telling you how good and how much I was reading and hearing about how other coaches really liked him, like in the Senior Bowl, and how he wasn't given enough of a chance that last season because of the turnover, and the lack of talent. Now that we have a little bit more talent, now that they get a little bit more comfortable with the scheme, he had a little bit of a experience being a head coach in the Senior Bowl. He's really coming into his own. I'm a huge fan of his.
Can we just? I bring it up every show because it still blows me away. Can we just acknowledge we have a top 10 defense? The Raiders have a top 10 defense for the first time in 20 years. What have we been saying all through the Gunther years, the Gus Bradley years? You're like, you can't turn it like this is not just a one defensive coordinator problem, right? Like, yeah, Gunther sucked, but you don't have 20 years of awful defense and then turn it around in a season. Like, it doesn't happen. It's impossible. It'll never happen. He fucking did it.
Where, John?
He fucking did it. He turned the worst. Not hyperbole, not exaggeration.
No,
the Raiders' defense was the worst defense in football of the 2010s to 2020 by every metric. Awful, terrible, disgustingly bad. And Patrick Graham, in about a season and a half, turned it around to a top 10 defense. And it's not like we went out and got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. It's not like we signed all these guys and all of a sudden the defense turned around. We picked up Spillane, worked out great, cool. Jack Jones came in, immediately made an impact, but it's mostly the same guys, right? The draft picks didn't do anything crazy for us. Like, schematically, through the genius in between the ears of Patrick Graham, we went from the worst defense in football over the last 20 years, the last 10 years, the last 5-ish years, not hyperbole, the worst defense in football.
I think it's the last 20.
And now we're top 10 in scoring defense. That's crazy.
Look,
That's crazy, Soto.
It's easy to look at like additions like Spillane and Jack Jones that have, built more fruit. But you look at players that are developing. You look at players like Merrick. We were talking about last year how Merrick was regressing because they were asking him to do more. So think about that. Merrick was drafted to do a certain thing. And this is why that's why I don't like John Gruden's philosophy. Because all he does is play off your strengths, and he doesn't really focus on coaching up your weaknesses.
Mm.
So what was Merrick his rookie season? Deep safety, don't let anything behind you. That's all he was in the Gus Bradley system, right?
Yep. And he played it well.
PG? No. I don't play that game.
Yeah.
Both of my safeties have to be interchangeable. They have to be go up in the box. They have to be cover man. They have to be able to cover deep. Last season, he wasn't that good at it. He didn't do it in college either at TCU. He was a deep safety. That's what he was. Okay, that was the big knock on him, is that he's a one-trick pony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now look at him. He's in the box. He's making tackles at the line of scrimmage. He's making tackles, no yards after catch. He's covering tight ends, and he's covering receivers over the middle. He's being taught. He's being developed. And that's the big thing I think that we've been missing on the defensive end is a coach that is willing to take the time to develop and say, screw the rest of this. I need these guys to do certain things for my defense to work. Am I going to play to their strengths? Of course I am. But I'm also going to develop the weaknesses. So once their weaknesses get better, I have more tools available in my toolbox. And that's a big plus and a big win for Patrick Graham defensively.
His ability to just get guys in the right position.
I keep pushing this freaking.
Because even at the beginning of the season, when the defense wasn't playing well, guys were in position, but they were just they hadn't grasped the system yet, and they hadn't been they were still thinking all the time, as opposed to just have it being second nature, right? Like you've done enough reps where you're not the wheels in your head aren't turning. You're just going there, and then your fundamentals are taking over because you're yourself. You're not thinking. It took these guys a season and a half to like really grasp what that. Like Gus Bradley got more or less like what he wanted out of the guys quick because his system was so simple. And that was the strength of the Gus Bradley system, is that if you've got studs, don't make them think, just have them be in a simple system and go, right? And when you had the Legion of Boom, you can do that because you had all the best players. When you don't have all the best defensive players, you got to make up for it. You got to play as a unit, right? You can't let your guys be guys, right? You have one guy is allowed to just be himself, right? Maxx is just like, let the dog off the leash, let him hunt, right? The other 10 guys, you got to play together. And that takes time. And it took a season and a half. We have a freaking top 10 defense, Soto. I can't believe it.
PG's a smart guy, and he said this, look, we've been bad. We've been really bad for a long time. What's the difference of us being bad while I'm teaching them to do more so they can be better in the future than trying to just do what they're good at now and still being bad?
Raiders defense, still like schematically not all that great. Takeaways, sacks, things like that, but it's the points per game. The only one that really matters.
All that matters.
Rushing defense still not great. 23rd in rushing, giving up 125 yards per game. Hopefully won't be a huge issue on Monday morning, but it could be. Passing, 11th in passing, almost top 10 defense in passing, giving up 210 yards per game. 17th in total defense, slightly under average, 334, but it's 9th in points allowed, 20 points per game. That's the big one. Can that hold up against the Chiefs, who obviously really surpassed that in our first game? Also, Maxx Crosby, he needs 3 sacks to pass Derek Burgess for most sacks in a single season in Raiders history. He only needs 3 more sacks in 3 games.
I think he can do it.
Hell yeah, he can do it. Absolutely. And what have I been saying this whole time? Maxx Crosby is a defensive player of the year candidate every single season, but because the rest of the defense sucks, he's never going to get that attention. 1, he's getting triple teamed every play because that's what needs to happen. And 2, no great defender on a bad defense ever wins defensive player of the year. Never happens. It's always just like the best guy on the best defense.
Oh, breaking news. Thank you, Matthew J. Evans. Ava Goat Adams just tweeted she's going to be waiting for Davante Goat Adams, and they're going to do the Goat Gritty lit bay selfie. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Ava Adams. She has a great one when she's wearing that white dress on the balcony.
Bro, she got a lot of great ones.
That one, though.
Dude, hey, wait a second. The Marianne parody where she's wearing the little like checkered, the tied top and the little booty shorts. Man, damn. You can look at that one up right now. I'll wait till later.
We're not that kind of video, Soto. Anything else? Anything else for Christmas morning? When this was on the schedule, Mr. Pessimistic RJ, I was just like, oh, my Christmas is going to be ruined. Christmas morning too. Or like I'm with the kid, I'm watching her do presents, and I'm watching Patrick Mahomes running all over the place. I don't feel that this time. Not with the way the defense is playing. Not after that 11 days of rest. Not after what we did to the Chargers. I want this one.
Well, we're going to see, honestly, the development of Coach Bo. Mm-hmm. Because, honestly, he didn't change too much. And I think he went into panic mode a little bit too early against the Chiefs and started going away from a lot of things that, made him successful early in the game. Mm-hmm. So how is he going to react when we get that inevitable pushback? Yeah. If in an event we do either same thing we did the first game, come out to a big lead, or we're down, are we going to stick to our game plan and stick to what we're going to do? What's going to give us the best chance to win, or we're going to get in panic mode and start doing a bunch of different stuff? That's going to be a big tell on the development of Coach Bo and the rest of this offense.
Is Taylor Swift going to be there, or is she still touring?
I don't know, dude. I could have gone this entire episode without mentioning her.
I'm curious. That's all I care about. That's all I'm thinking about. How many shots of T Swift are we getting?
It's Christmas. Probably not going to be there. But if she is, either the NFL is paying her a lot of money to do that, or her and the tight end that will remain nameless are really
Mr.
serious.
Swift. We just call him
Mr.
Mr. Swift.
Ooh, that'd be sweet, Mr. Swift.
Mr. Swift. Although it's gonna, I don't know if he breaks
We
one.
should call him Mrs. Swift because she's wearing the pants in that family.
Right? This is mine. This is where my babies come from. Hopefully she gets knocked up because then he'll.
It wasn't me. I pulled way out. I pulled out way early.
That woman's a bold-faced liar. I pulled out way early. What movie's that from?
Sometimes when I wake up, Big Earn is already here.
Mr. McCracken's already there.
McCracken is already here.
I had to. I couldn't help myself. So when do you want to do the post show? Because it'll be Christmas. It'll be smack dab in Christmas festivities when the game's over. Can you do later at night?
I mean, I can do it whenever. I can do it right after the show, right after the game. I can do it later. The thing is I might have something cooking later on Christmas.
Okay.
That's the thing.
TBD on the post show, everybody. We're actually going to give you guys a chance to spend some time with your families on Christmas.
Screw those families, dude.
Right?
Families great in moderation.
It's just the Raider family.
After a while, it's like, you know what, dude? You guys are selfish.
Well, everyone have a great Christmas. Everyone have a great Christmas Eve. I'm taking the 4-year-old to see Santa today. Very excited about that. Huh?
What's the over under her crying?
She didn't cry last year. She was super nervous. It was like she was meeting Elvis, where she's just like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
Elvis.
I think I have the photo.
Super recent pull. How about meeting Taylor Swift?
I imagine that's probably what she would feel like how a Swiftie meeting Taylor Swift. That's how. Because this time, I feel like this year, Frankie understands that he's the gift giver. Before, it was just like a celebrity, and she wasn't old enough to kind of compute that he brings presents. Now, I think she's going to be all business. Like, all right, Santa, I've been good. I want this. I want this. I want this. See you in 2 days. Peace. I've earned it.
So, homegirl's nephew, Danny, he was like, big game hunting, right? Like, I'm going to see Santa. So he's a little bit the development mentally, back a little bit. He has cerebral palsy. So he doesn't really talk a lot yet. He's almost 3 years old, but he talks a little bit. He was pumped up to see Santa. He was like, yeah, I'm all brave. As soon as he sits on his lap, oh man, I was giving it to him. I'm like, bro, what happened? What happened to all that?
So this was at the very beginning where she's just like, oh my God, he's really real and he's giving me a hug. She kind of loosened up after that and was like happy. And then her cousins came in for the photo. So there's like strength in numbers,
Mm-hmm. She's playing coy, bro. She's playing the game.
She's a cutie. She knows what she's doing. She's no dummy. All right. We will talk to you guys after the victory on Christmas. Definitely won't be sober. So it'll be a slurred one. You guys are used to it by now. Not exactly sure when. Maybe we'll do it right after, maybe a little later in the day. Stay close. Keep abreast. Follow us on social media so you know when. But I want this one. It's our Super Bowl, boys. This is a big one.
It's a big one.
And I'll be wearing brand new Raiders gear because everyone just gets me Raider gear every single year because all I get for Christmas presents is booze and Raider gear. And that's because I'm the hardest guy in the world to shop for because I don't like stuff. I don't collect things. I don't do things. So they're like, let's just get him drunk, put him in some Crosby gear. Like, happy man. That's all I need.
I wear a lot of free stuff.
I wear 87% of what I own is free. So this hat, gift from the wife. She gets me a new game day hat every year. The fight exchange from my buddy Soto. Yeah. I'm wearing pants that were my uniform when I was working at the chiropractic office. And then slippers that my brother-in-law got me, I think 2 Christmases ago. Free gear. That's all I wear.
I'm wearing I actually bought this t-shirt. I got this as a gift, and I'm not wearing anything waist down. So
perfect. We'll leave you guys with that visual. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.